Hey, welcome back to another YouTube video. So this is a live match, so there will be voiceover on this video throughout. So this is a club championship match being held at Marston Fishery. If you've not been there before, guys, get yourself down to Marston Fishery. Great venue, plenty of lakes. So this match is being held across two of the lakes, Oak Pool and Sycamore. I've happened to draw Oak Pool. So here's my lines. I'm going to be planning to fish a short line, top kit plus 2 sections with maggots. I've got a long line, pole line as well, feeding 2mm micros and 6mm pellets. And then I've set up a bomb just to throw out if it starts to get tough, to see if I can pick off a couple of carp further out. I've also got a shallow line set up as well, so again, if the carp start to present themselves shallow, I will be fishing a shallow line. And then finally, I've got margins. I have got 2 free pegs next to me, so I can reach the platforms on those pegs, and I'll be giving both of those a go. So before we get going, guys, please, if you haven't already, just subscribe to the channel. These videos are free, and the only way the videos work and the way YouTube works is by people hitting that subscribe button. So please, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, and hopefully you're going to enjoy this next video. So as you can see, the weather's taking a bit of a turn for the worse. A bit of a miserable day today. It was actually the 7th of September, so this video has only just come out, and it was a horrible day. It just rained, and there we go. We just had the all in. So just priming that short line, throwing in 2 lots of maggots, and now I'm going to prime that long line with some 2mm micros and some 6mm hard pellets, just putting them in the cupping kit, and then we're going to ship that out and get that primed up. So the plan is to fish that short line for around sort of 30-40 minutes, just while that long line is settling, and I'll just keep topping that up every sort of 5 to 10 minutes while I'm fishing that short line. So if you've not fished, certainly on Oak and all the other lakes are the same, they're full of good skimmers, and you can't miss out having a go for them early in the match. Definitely short, around a top kit plus 2 sections, feeding maggots. You can catch some really good quality skimmers, a good sort of anything from sort of a pound and a half up to 2.5 pounds skimmers, and you can get a good weight. So there I am, just potted those in and found my marker. I'm just catapulting some 6mm pellets over the top, just have a little bit of an area for them to grub around in, but also to help me get my sort of feel for the catapult. So now I know where I'm going to be fishing. I can carry on catapulting those 6mm out while I'm fishing this short line. So like I say, we're going to keep throwing these maggots in. I did this all day long, just throwing those maggots in. So even if I didn't catch in the first part of the session, my plan or my thought process was the skimmers would come in or the carp would come in later on those maggots. So I just kept doing that all day long. So we're just shipping out now, and we're going to just see if we can start getting a few early fish, and sometimes you'll get the F1s coming in as well on that maggot line. So it's like I say, you can get some good silvers and F1s going, and you'll no doubt pick the odd carp up as well. So it's always good to do for the first hour. So unfortunately though, this line didn't produce like I was expecting. It was just full of small perch. Don't ask me why, no idea, because on Oak Pool you can get some decent skimmers and some, like I say, a run of F1s. But I just catching little perch. It was just full of them on the day. For some reason the carp just didn't want to feed on this line, and the skimmers definitely didn't want to feed on this line as early as I expected. So as you can see, literally we've only just started fishing straight in, and I got a little perch, but it's not what we want. So you can't fish this lake, you can't fish any of these lakes in fact catching those small silvers. You need the bigger silvers, like I say, the 1.5 pound, 2 pound skimmers, and then you definitely need the carp. And normally on this lake you need over 100 pounds to be anywhere close of winning. So there we go, just got a little crucian as well. Not great, not the best start. Normally you can catch some, even though it's only a few minutes in, you can catch some better fish straight away on this line, but they just didn't want to come in as expected. So weather's taken more again, just getting worse. Hood up now, Just wasn't the great day. Like I say, we were in the early September. Sun should have been out and it should have been at least 21 degrees, but it wasn't. It was around 17 degrees and it was raining, and just a bit of a miserable day when it comes to weather-wise. But as fishermen, we get out there and we carry on. So just going to go out now on the long line. I decided I just couldn't carry on that short line. There's no point trying to catch those small fish. You're just not going to win. So I carried on though, throwing in the maggots, and just kept that going in all day long, hoping at some point I'll be able to come on it, drop on it, and start catching those decent skimmers. So just shipping out now to our sort of 11.5 metre line, and it didn't take long actually, and I think I had a bite, and then almost caught one reasonably quick on that line. So we're just going to watch this one and end up hooking a carp any second, or not a carp, sorry, it was an F1. And there we go. So that really didn't take long. It was literally probably no more than a minute or so. So it was good. A little bit of confidence. Again, it wasn't a big fish. Again, you can be catching £5 carp at that distance quite happily, or decent F1s. So it's only a small F1. I think it's probably about, I don't know, 7 or 8 ounces. So we get this one in, net that. Get it in the net, unhook it, get it in the net, and we basically get another pellet on, another 6mm pellet on the hook, and we ship out. Again, keep throwing those maggots in on that short line, because I am going to come back to it, hoping to pick off a couple of more fish at some point. If this line dries up, then I would definitely come back onto that short line. So back out again. Just finding my marker and catapulting some 6mm pellets over the top. So I was always catapulting in 2 lots of pellets, probably around 10-12 pellets at a go, just to make sure they get down. I didn't really want the fish up in the water on this line, and it just didn't feel like the right day for fishing shallow anyway. So I never throughout the match saw one fish surface, not until towards the end of the match, but for the first few hours there was no signs of any carp up in the layers, on near the surface. So there we go, another bite, fish on. So we get this one in, but again, it's not a big fish. It wasn't the type of certainly not the stamper fish I would have expected. So it was very peculiar not to have actually hit a proper carp yet. So slight problem there, just getting the end of the pole off with that wet weather, just stuck there. And again, like I say, it's just a small fish. There we go, we're just going to get this one in. I think this was another F1. Yeah, it looks like it's just another F1. Probably about, I don't know, another, again, sort of 9 ounces maybe. So at this point, again, not much of a weight to shout about. I've probably only got probably £1.5 in the net at the moment, and we're probably already around I think we're probably around a good hour into the match. So not a great start. In fact, all over the lake, no one was really catching. The odd carp might have been caught, but everyone just seemed to be struggling at this point. Very unusual behaviour that was happening on the day. So again, just keep throwing those maggots in, and again, another 6mm pellet on the hook, and we ship back out. Like I say, another 6mm pellet on the banded on the hook, and ship out back to our 11.5 metre point. So the rain's starting to ease off a little bit, conditions start to improve. I was just hoping the sun would come out, but it was never to be. So again, just laying that in, just letting that settle, and we're back in to another fish. I mean, it was all F1s. It appeared to be, that's what was feeding. I mean, they're good little fighting fish. As you can see, the float went under and the pole literally just went round to the right, and that wasn't me, that was the fish pulling it round. So they can be good fun, but it really wasn't the stamp I was after today. It wasn't our target fish. We wanted the carp. So again, throwing those maggots in on that short line, just kept feeding that all day long. So again, another F1 there in the net, and they've been around sort of that 8-ounce sort of weight, maybe 10 ounces on average. So we just carried on this line. So back out again. And as you can see around the lake, see the building that's being built there. So they're investing a lot of money over at Marston's, putting in a building. I don't know what's actually going to be in there. I think they're going to have their own tackle shop and obviously no doubt a cafe of some kind. Not 100% sure of the plans, but it's a big building that's going in and it's going to become a pretty good place. So and there we are, look, we're just catapulting in some 6mm again over the top, 2 lots. Really trying to get draw some carp in and just push them down to the bottom. I want to try and fish off the bottom if I can in this session. So there we go, and we're in again. So whenever I was feeding, I would get the bite. And even when I was on other lines, if I put a cupping kit of micros in and some 6mm and then went straight on it, you know, again similar thing. It didn't matter whether I was feeding the 2mm or whether I was feeding the 6mm. These little F1s just kept coming into the swim. So again, another one in the net. Probably a similar sort of stamp as the others. So again, just another, it was just a process at this point. Another 6mm on the hook and shipping out to that 11 on that 11.5 metre pole line. But I found though after a while this line did start to dry up. Even the F1 stopped feeding on it, and had to make a decision: do I stay on it? Hopefully going to pick off a few more F1s and the carp have come in, because it's gone quiet on the F1s. Maybe some carp have just come into the swim, but I think I gave this probably about another 20 minutes and I missed a couple of bites, but unfortunately it didn't produce much more after this. But I did keep catapulting those 6mm throughout the match over this line, and then I decided I was going to come off it and give the shallow line a go. The carp hadn't produced on the bottom, so they have, the thought process is they must be up in the water. Maybe they are just under the surface cruising around, just not showing themselves. Well, got to give it a go. I had it set up, so that was the plan. So just shipping out, so I decided to fish the shallow line just on my left, just not really over that the line, my long pole line that I was fishing earlier, because I want to go back to that and I didn't really want to disturb it if fish had settled on the bottom. So fishing shallow just to my left, slapping it in 3 times, just holding it there on that 3rd slap and seeing if anything would take it. So out at 13 meters now. And I just did this probably for about 15 minutes to see if anything came in, but unfortunately there was just nothing about. And I mean, if the carp were shallow and they were feeding, it wouldn't have taken long. It just doesn't take that long to catch them. So, but they didn't produce. So I then decided just to keep rotating the lines, come back in on that short line, top kit, plus 2 sections where I had been feeding maggots throughout. And it didn't take long, literally I was within a minute or so I was in, and it was the target fish. It was a skimmer. So that gave me a little bit of confidence that the skimmers had come in on the line as planned, but it just took much longer than it should have done. I mean, we're probably now about 3 hours, or just over 3 hours into the match, and that's the first sign of a skimmer on that short line. Like I say, they normally come in much sooner, and you can get a good probably £10 of skimmers in the first sort of hour and a half, and it's always good just to get those them in the net, but they didn't produce earlier on. So again, just gonna catapult some pellets over that 11.5 metre line. Just keep them going in. So again, should this short line dry up, I can go back out again onto the long line and hopefully pick off a couple of fish again. So this is what I carried on doing, and almost immediately after catching that skimmer, put straight in, and I was into another fish. So it's slightly better one this time. So again, like I say, I started getting a little bit of confidence that the short line now is going to start coming good. So I had to get this one in. I wasn't going to bully it, just taking my time, keeping the pole down. Certainly one of the best fish I'd had so far throughout the session. But like I said right at the beginning of the video, it's a little bit unusual because by now you certainly should have had 40-50 pound in the net. I'm not 100% sure what I was on at this point. I think I was only on around the sort of probably £12 mark, 12-13 pound at this point with those F1s that I was catching on the long line. Arguably, I mean, I was catching on the long line, but they were just small fish, and it did appear to dry up. So hence I came in on this short line. But we're going to get this carp in. Gave me a little bit of a run around. It wasn't a big carp. I do find the smaller carp do just sort of give you a bit more of a run around than the bigger ones do. I mean, the bigger ones tend to just sort of just keep going, diving down, going deep, and they just won't get their heads up. Where these smaller carp, they just sort of keep going left to right, and takes them. Sometimes just takes a little bit longer. But I was probably just taking my time more on this one because, like I say, it was the first one within the session. So there we go, we're just going to get his head up and we're going to get this one netted. There we go, got him in the net. So this was probably about, I think it's about £3. Certainly not a big fish, not what's in this lake. I mean, there's absolutely plenty of carp. £6 easily on average, and you know, plenty of double-figured carp as well. But again, that line just dried up, so nothing produced after that carp. So back out at our 11.5 metre line, fishing a 6mm hard pellet. I had carried on catapulting in the hard pellets as well, so just missed a bite. So again, I went straight in and almost had a bite, but it was just F1s. I missed a few of these bites, just F1s messing about. I mean, I could have put a 4mm pellet on and I might have had a better look, sort of hitting most of those bites, but there we are. But I was waiting for the carp, so hence why sticking with the 6mm. So like I say, they do normally show up and you normally catch a few, but we're into our next fish on this long line. And still getting those maggots, they just kept going in throughout the session, so it was just basically a routine. So just kept rotating lines throughout this session. Whichever line I was on, I was just carried on feeding the opposite lines, whether it be the short line or the long line. So I do believe I'd also at this point catapulted some 8mm pellets over on that bomb line, and I did give it a go not long after I fished that shallow line to my left. I did drop on that bomb line, didn't show it on this video, but I was only on it for about 15 minutes, and again there was absolutely no indications, no line bites, nothing. So even if you don't necessarily catch on a line, especially on a feeder or a bomb, you'd expect to get some line bites if the fish are up in the layers, but that just never happened. So there's no signs of anything on that out of that line. If I'd got some liners, I might have come closer on it, or I would have just tried shallow again, but there was nothing, no indications, no signs. And as you can see, I just threw out some more maggots, just keep getting the feed going in. What you find on oak pool, on any of them in fact, at this time of year, you've got to just keep feeding. The minute you stop feeding, the fish just disappear. They just go. So you got to feed quite heavy. So we go get this one in. This one was actually a small carp, not a big one. It's about, I think it's probably about £1.5 pounds. So just get him in the net. So rather than catapult some 6mm out, which I had been doing throughout the session, I decided to just put some more micros in my cupping kit, again with some 6mm pellets, just basically to get my bait on the bottom and fish directly over it, rather than over an area of the 6mm pellets that I'd been catapulting in throughout. So this was just really just to get some bait bang on where I want it and where I was fishing. So just shipping out there now, and we're just going to pop those in, find our far bank marker, just found a marker as well on the leg of my box, and then just potted those in nice and accurately. So again, another 6mm pellet on the hook and ship out, and we're going to go straight in over those 2mm micros and 6mm pellets we just potted in. So there we go, just fishing straight over those 2mm pellets and the 6mm hard pellets as well, and let the float settle. But as soon as that hook hit the bottom, the float went under, and we was in yet again. And this just became the routine: feeding, catch a few fish, it'd dry up, leave it, feed again, and you'd catch a few fish, and then it would dry up. So there we go, straight to the netting part, and it was just another little F1. And that was the routine today. It was the fish were coming on that 11.5 metre line and that short line, and like I say, it was about rotation. So we get this one in the net. We were now about an hour and 20 minutes, and a couple of guys started catching in the margins, so I decided to do exactly the same and jump to the margins. So came off this line, it didn't really produce any more, and was in the margins. So on the left hand side, the earlier before the match, I had soaked some 4mm pellets. So I'd been putting some softened 4mm pellets with some sweet corn on this left hand line, fishing a piece of sweet corn. And there we go, it didn't take long. It was almost like they were there. There was lots of small fry jumping about in the margins at this point, and it was basically carp or F1s were coming in, chasing the small fry, and they were trying to feed off those. And I think that's maybe why the day was so difficult, is that they just weren't interested in our baits, they were interested in the smaller fish. That was my theory, but we did have a, like I say, didn't take long, and we was into a fish. But again, not a big fish, it was just another little F1. And I think this is what was in the margin, chasing them about. Like I say, some of the anglers did catch a couple of decent carp, but unfortunately at this point I wasn't so lucky. So I tried the left hand margin, and then on the right hand margin I was feeding ground bait with some sweet corn. So again, sweet corn on the hook. And because I've just caught that F1, I decided to now try the right hand line to see if there was actually carp on that right hand line and not F1s. And again, as soon as I went on that right hand line, I got a bite really quick. And what was happening whenever I was getting bites in the margin, left or the right, just before I got the bite, there'd be a load of commotion in the swim, and a load of small fry would just jump out, and then you get a bite. And it was either an F1 or, as you can see now, it actually produced, the margin produced a decent skimmer. Probably about £2 skimmer in the margin, maybe just slightly less than that. But this is what I was expecting to catch on that short line, that top kit plus 2 sections feeding maggots that I kept going to throughout the day. But these decent skimmers just never came in on that short line. But this is the stamp you can get, and you can get a good £10 plus really quick fishing a short line and feeding maggots. But just wasn't going to happen today. And that was the only decent skimmer I actually got. I did catch a smaller skimmer earlier on in the session, if you remember, but this was the decent one. So just pop them in the net. And that was how the session went. It wasn't the best day. It was very slow. And we're not long now, probably only got another 5 minutes left before we get the all out. So guys, this was a club championship held at Marston Fishery. The conditions weren't great, and the fishing wasn't probably at its best on the day, but that's how it is. You just got to keep trying these things. Today was all about, or this session was all about, rotation and catching whatever I could that was swimming by on either of those lines. So I think I ended up around, I was middle of the pack. I think I came 8th overall. 20 anglers or so were fishing it, so it wasn't a bad session, but it could have been better. But there we go, well done to the winner, who actually also won last year's club championship. So well done to the winner and all the people that framed. So guys, if you've enjoyed this video, if you've learned something, then brilliant. As usual guys, please if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. It's a massive help. I can't stress it enough. The channel can only survive if you subscribe to it. Also, as usual, please leave a comment. Just tell me whether you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, things I could learn as well from you. Also, don't forget, just give it a like. So guys, there we have it, live match, club championship held at Marston Fishery. As usual guys, tight lines, and I'll see you soon.